Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, I interview Muslim American improv and sketch comedy extraordinaire, Summer Adhal. Check it out.
Woo.
Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of grace. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, means the world to us. Today, I have an amazing guest, my friend, Muslim American and improv sketch comedy extraordinaire and genius, Summer Adhal. How you doing today, Summer?
Hey. Hi. How's it going, Tom? I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate you taking the time and taking me up on the offer.
Oh, I'm excited. The moment I saw your message, I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, definitely want to do this thing. Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure. So why don't you introduce yourself? What's a little bit about you, a little bit of your history? What can you share with the folks listening?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Panama City, Florida. So, born and raised there. And I think it gave me kind of like a unique look on the world and life. And then I went to school with you in Tampa, right? And then moved over to, I just kicked the camera. I moved over to Atlanta after graduating. Did a couple more years of school there, and then, now I live here. Yeah. And I'm loving it.
One slight correction, I actually didn't go to school there. The MSA just always asked me to help out with things.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea. Oh my God. And that's why assumptions don't work. That's great though. Wow. Cause I remember you MSA. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. We did PD together though, right? Like you were in PD with me.
What's that?
Or was it just MSA? Project Downtown.
I was not in that.
Oh my goodness. I think I don't remember college anymore. I think that's it. I just don't remember it. Oh, it's been that many years for me. Wow. Well, found out some things about myself.
We did the Ramadan, or it wasn't Ramadan. We did the that iftar fundraiser they do every year.
Oh, I was the banana.
Yeah.
I was a banana mascot. Yeah, and I gave a speech in a banana. I got pulled over in that after that iftar, and I'm still wearing it. The cop just looks at me and he goes, "Just go." And I'm like, "Okay," and I go. It's like that because I always get a ticket. Always. He just looked at me and he's like, "Okay," just basically like I don't even know. I don't know what to say right now. Zoomed off. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, good times.
Let's start there. What did you study in college, and why did you pick that part of Florida, and how was your experience?
Well, I did biomedical sciences because it was what I was supposed to do, right? I wanted to be a director. I always kind of wanted to work in film, and director is kind of where I had my mind. It wasn't like I didn't even think about being an actor, or being like a comedian or anything. I always had a camera in my hand growing up, right? Taking pictures, filming. Like my parents would have to hide their really expensive cameras because like I would walk in, not even able to hold it because I was so small, and just take it around with me. But being a doctor or pharmacist or dentist is what you're kind of supposed to do and stuff. And I had always been told by just people I knew and like the media and stuff like that, Muslims and Arabs, like people don't want them in film. Like you're not wanted. Right? Your voice, your story, they don't want. And like the media kind of perpetuated that too, because the only time you ever saw a Muslim or an Arab on TV is if they're a terrorist or the bad guy, or they're explaining they're not a bad guy. And that's the only time you ever saw anybody like that on TV for like one-off episode. If they're like, oh, we're not really like that, and then they're gone. They're not a main character. So I went into medicine, and I went into biomedical sciences, very different. And I absolutely hated it. But I picked Tampa because A, I was accepted, and B, it was just far enough away from my hometown that I felt like independent and cool. My sister lived there, but just far enough where like if I needed to see her, then I could. But also I had my own life. which is what I like. I was the baby of the family, and like by a lot. And so I had a lot of attention on me, and I wanted to be independent, even though I wasn't. But I wanted to feel like I was. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point you bring up about the representation of Muslims and or Arabs in media.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was watching this TV show that I liked the other day, and it was this one episode that really focused on conflict with Muslims. And my wife walked in. I was like, don't even look at the TV. I'm embarrassed I'm even watching this. This is such terrible representation of Muslims.
Right? I was thinking about it the other day. The best representation I've seen of what it's like to be like a Muslim in America, especially like a Muslim teen in America, was off of Serial. And he was like and maybe that's not the best time to really focus on what it's like to be a Muslim American, but that's the only time I've ever seen something where like his teen experience, other than obviously, the later half of it, was similar to my own in some ways. But I was like, gosh, it's on Serial, nothing else? Like, that's so weird to me. What a crime podcast is what I find like is the best representation of Muslims. Like, what? Yeah. Muslim teens, other than obviously, the unfortunate circumstances.
The first season, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the first season with Anand Saeed, like, and Heyman Lee. Yeah. Just the explanation of what it was like to be like a teenager and I was in IB as well. Like, they were in, I didn't get into as much stuff as he did, but, just, hanging out with friends and the expectations and the pressure from the parents and the community and all that stuff. It's one of the only times I've ever really seen it shown. But then, yeah.
I remember when Hassan Minaj's Homecoming came out. It was right during.
Yes. Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah, agreeing with you. I got excited.
And it was, I know it came out a little bit earlier, but when it really became popular was right during Ramadan. And like every iftar I went to, people were like, oh my God, it was so amazing. And I feel so seen. And
yeah, I mean, like that, Hassan Minaj just in general has opened so many doors in my eyes, like him being up there and being so openly Muslim. Right. And he makes me feel like, okay, yeah, it's just possible. He's doing it right now. Like, why can't I? Yeah.
So you went for, more what you felt like you were supposed to do. What were some crossroads you arrived at? Is that the field you went into, or did you start to follow more your dream of film and expression and stuff like that?
A little bit of both of those angles on there. So I graduated, and then I had a gap year that I stayed in Panama City with my family. And then in that year, like literally 2 months later, I worked on a film set with some people actually from LA, and they were in Gainesville, Florida filming, and I got to work on that set for months. And a good family friend, and she's also a director, a Muslim woman as well. And she's a director, and she has a movie coming out soon too, actually. But she asked me if I wanted to work on it because she knew I was interested, which was cool because, opening doors for each other. And I worked on it. I was like, gosh, I feel like I love this stuff. I love it, right? And so I, had the rest of my gap year. I went back, and that was only 1 month. And I kind of sat thinking about it. And I was going to apply to film school, but the voices came and like popped up back in my head again. And then changed my mind, went to computer science and did it in Atlanta. But I also had the thought in the back of my head as I do computer science, well, Atlanta, there's a lot of filming going on, right? And there's a lot of things happening in Atlanta. So I was like, I can go for this, do something like that'll make my parents happy, right? And it's something that I can do while I pursue other things, right? Because trying to do medicine and comedy or film and things, it's a little bit harder, right? While schooling and stuff. But I thought if I could just get a job while I try to pursue this other thing, and yeah, I could do it.
So is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah.
So you're doing computer science as well as film and stuff like that?
Well, I should say I do more design stuff now, right? Logos, graphics, and things like that. But I do comedy every single night, every night almost. Any night that I can, I'm on stage, either in rehearsal or writing or performing in some capacity. Yeah.
How'd you get into doing the logos and design? That sounds different than medicine and computer science.
So I jumped a lot because my main goal is comedy. But so I started working at a company for about a year in programming. I was a front end web developer with them, and I learned a lot about design from some of the people that worked there because they were designers, and I got to work closely with them. And I was like, oh, I really like this a lot too. And that's something that I could do freelance and give myself more time and more of a flexible schedule to work on other things like acting and comedy.
So you were saying that with Siri, you were relating to a lot of what he was talking about with his childhood growing up. What are some of the things you resonated with, or what are some of the stories that you wish were being told on bigger platforms and being shared of what the young Muslim experience is like?
I just wish there was more of an authentic Muslim experience, Muslim teen experience in America, especially post 9/11, right? Because it's even hard. It's hard for me to wrap around it still. And how I've always felt like a little bit different, right? And I always have to be a little bit. It's a really difficult question. I just wish there was more of an authentic Muslim experience shown. I wish we could just be a character on a show other than us coming in and having to explain our entire being and our entire life and all our customs stuff like in one episode or like throughout a series or something like that. I wish it was just shown like in a lot of other people's lives, right? Because like, I don't know what it's like to grow up in a white family, but I do know kind of I do know what it is kind of, right? Because I watch these shows and that's just the way things are. And I mean, they're very different than my life, but I understand it on some level, right? I wish it was taken away instead of, how do I say this? I wish the way that Muslim kids growing up wasn't always shown as like a bad or different thing, and that the kid who's rebelling against it is like a hero almost, right? As if the way that their parents are wrong, that parents have to change and adjust. Because I don't think either person is wrong. I think it's somebody struggling to fit in a place that makes it hard, right? Because if you are different, you're treated differently. And growing up with my parents look different. My parents have an accent a little bit, right? English great, have an accent, and my mom dresses a little bit differently. And going out places, I'm afraid for her. I would be like, there's always something in the back of my mind, like any little thing can trigger somebody into being rude to her, racist to her, or me even. Like I'm always treated as if I'm not, that I'm different. And I wish there were more stories to show people that it's not abnormal to be different. I don't know. I think about it a lot. It's something that I think about constantly. Yeah.
Talking it out with you or listening to your thoughts, one thing that comes to mind for me is that there can't just be one if it's going to be authentic, that it has to be like a bombardment of different stories, kind of like with white culture. There's so many different examples because you can't be like, here's the one authentic because somebody else is.
Yes. Oh my God. Even just two in one thing would be nice. Just two people in one, like I would be happy with it. Just two. Honestly, I can't think of any Arab characters off the top of my head or Muslim characters. Not really, right? Can't even think of one, but I would love for two. Oh my goodness. Two different experiences, two different stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's the dream. Hopefully one day. Inshallah.
Yeah, my wife and I, we were watching the Jack Ryan, is that what it's called? Jack Ryan on Amazon with the guy from The Office. I believe that's what it's called, where he's a CIA analyst.
Oh yeah, the guy that played Jim. I forget his name.
Yeah.
Always. I don't know why I think I'm bad at names. Yeah.
And it was really engaging. But at the same time, I'm just always wondering, because there's definitely a big military push on it. Like here in LA, they actually screened the first episode at like a big military ship. So I'm just wondering, what is people's experience, or what are they taking in of Muslim culture from a show like this?
Right. And it's because it's the only thing that Muslims are in. If you only see Muslims in roles like that, then that's all you're taking from it, right? People believe what they watch. As sad as it is, as simple as it is, what you see all the time, you're going to start being like, okay, yeah, that's what they are mostly, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. I hate that stuff. Oh my gosh. It's too much.
You had mentioned growing up young post 9/11. How old were you when 9/11 happened? I
was in 5th grade, so about 10 or 11. I think 10. I had my birthday. My birthday is April 1st. April Fool's Day jokes. Yeah, but yeah, it was
10. We can see the destiny was set.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh my goodness. All the pranks, you have to have some. You gotta laugh.
When I went and they're taught at one of the Muslim schools, it was like 1st through 12th grade. Yeah. And they were talking about their experience on 9/11. It just totally outlined for me white privilege. Like my school,
really,
their policy was the way we wouldn't let the terrorists win is by not interrupting the day at all. So we literally didn't turn on the news. We didn't do anything. It was like you wouldn't have even known something happened. And then this school said that they had to evacuate the school in like a half hour because people started throwing bricks through their windows within like a half hour. I was like, that to me is like right there, the different experiences.
Whoa, they threw bricks through their school?
Yeah, and they had to like evacuate the whole school like quickly.
Wow, that's really scary. It's not their fault. They had nothing to do with it. They're just kids in school. Like, you're going to go for the innocent and the children? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what a lot of us, I think, felt after 9/11 is that even though we had nothing to do with it, we were to blame. And live with that all the time, and people look at you and blame you without saying a word. And I think that's most of my life is looking at people and seeing that they hate me a little bit. Or expecting, like, I couldn't do anything like a silly kid would do because to me it's at another level. The fact that me, like this brown kid would do something is at another level for some people. Like, they hate it even more. Like, am I going to get like yelled at even harder about it? Is somebody going to say something? And it hurt more. You know what I mean? When people yell at me about, the color of my skin or them thinking I'm Muslim, right? But like, like it hurt way more because they just, because those weren't even really things that it's not something I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? This is just who I am. This is just what I look like. I haven't done anything to you. No one I know has done anything to you. No one I know to this day has done anything, right? I was afraid for my mom, she wears hijab. She wears hijab, and she goes out there, and I would be afraid for her. And on every at 9/11 they'd always have like a memorial day for it, right, in school, which is fine. But like, I don't know. I always just kept my mouth shut. I couldn't feel sad about it, and I couldn't. I was just scared to feel anything about it, right? I felt like I didn't have any permission to feel any type of way because people would still be blaming me for it. And people have openly blamed me, yelled it at me. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't do it. Yeah, it shakes you. Like, I for a while, I didn't even go out on 9/11. If I could avoid it, I just don't go because I'm scared. Yeah. So, yeah. I know a lot of other people don't feel that way, but I personally, that's just how I protect myself with everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's just shift the tone a little bit. What's the bubble? How did you get into comedy, sketch comedy? I mean, last time we talked, we were reflecting. I used to have long dreadlocks. You used to wear a banana suit. Like, talk to me about this.
Banana suit. I've always loved comedy so much. Oh my goodness. If I could make people laugh. I was really shy. I didn't talk much, but I could make people laugh. Like, I honestly didn't talk at all unless I was making people laugh. And so that's kind of how I connected to the world. And with my family, I'm the youngest. So I put on a little show for them all the time. Yeah. And they introduced me to like Chaplin and Abbott Costello and Lucy and everything. Just comedy family, yeah.
So then how did you get into sketch comedy? How did that start?
Oh, I worked on a film set after college, and then after working on that film set, a lot of them did improv. And they're like, oh, you should do improv. You gotta do improv. Improv is everything. Do improv. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do improv. And so when I got to Atlanta, there were improv classes, and I took some, and I even wrote like in a little caption after my first grad show, like my level 1, I posted like, I think I'm addicted, right? Like I'm hooked or whatever. And I was so right. I didn't even realize it. I said it as like kind of like an off, like I didn't really like whatever, right? No, 4 years later, almost 3 years, 3.5 years, almost going on, I'm still doing it. Yeah, so I started in 2015, August 2015. Yeah.
I mean, I think some people might be wondering, that sounds really cool, but I'd be so nervous. How do you just go up without any script and just improv? How do you do that?
Okay, so I have 2 things to say on that. One, that's exactly why you shouldn't be nervous, because nobody's going to judge you on anything. Like, really, yeah, they know you're making it up. You can't really go wrong, right? Just go for it and try it. On the other hand, I was nervous before every show. Every show, I would have like a mini, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this anymore. Why am I doing this torture to myself? And then after the show, I'd be like, I feel great, right? I can do this again. But it's nerve-wracking to be that vulnerable on stage, but I argue that's exactly why you should do it. You should do the things that you're afraid of. Like, put yourself out there. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Yeah.
Do you have is there any tips or best practices or advice for people who are just getting started in improv or, want to bring some of those values to their life?
Yeah. I say listening is key. Just listen to the other person on stage, because they're going to give you everything, right? Just listen and just be authentic in your response to them, right? Make eye contact. Like, I'm looking at you right now, and I know what you're saying to me. Just care about something. If you care about something, everything's okay. Well, that's not always true, but just care about things. Makes it better, at least. Yeah.
What do you mean by be authentic in your response?
Don't try to. I know, make the audience laugh. If I all of a sudden respond in this weird way that doesn't really feel right to me, but I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm gonna force this feeling. Just respond to them how you would feel, I guess, especially at first. Just try to be authentic, and then figure out what works.
Did we mentioned The Office before? Did you watch The Office?
Oh, I love The Office. Oh my goodness, I love that show. I rewatch it all the time.
I'm thinking about Michael during improv. What would he always do? Like, pull out a gun or whatever?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's funny because he did Second City, and I don't know if he did either, but I know he did sketch at Second City and stuff. And the fact that he includes improv, and there are people who do always try to pull out a gun and shoot you in every scene. And it's like, oh God, here's the guy with the gun again, right? It's so funny. SNL did like a little Chicago improv bit. Honestly, if you haven't seen that, it's so funny. It hits pretty hard. It hits pretty hard. It got me.
What have you learned about yourself from doing improv?
Oh, I've learned a lot. I've come a long way. I've learned that I can handle anything if I just trust myself, and that I should 100% always trust myself. I've learned that I'm too hard on myself, which is something I was kind of I have always been I want perfection. I've always I didn't even fully realize I was a perfectionist until I started doing improv and expecting me to be perfect on stage, making it up on the spot. And I think realizing that and realizing it's pointless has been really, really big for me. And above all, I think I realized that people do want to see me, a brown Muslim woman, perform on stage, and they will laugh and they will enjoy themselves, and that I can perform every week and I have space to perform every week, and I deserve it. You know what I mean? That I deserve that space. Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things. Yeah.
That's so inspiring.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much. Catch me every Friday.
Where?
At the Village Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. You can see me there on Thursdays, Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, and every Sunday. Almost every Sunday. Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier trying to find this place of like pleasing society / your parents' expectations, and then like following your heart and your dreams. How is that balancing act going?
Well, I think I've somewhat worn my parents down a little bit. They don't fully know how much improv and comedy I do. I think they know that I'm not letting them in the loop all the way, and I think that's what they want. They just want me to work hard, I guess, and just be successful eventually in something. Just be stable. I think it's my mom's only thing. She's like, just be stable. As long as you're stable, you can do whatever you want. Just please, right? Because they worry about me. I'm the baby. They want me to be okay. I got lost in that thought and totally forgot the rest of the question. I do that all the time. I'll start talking and I'll be really into whatever I'm saying. And I'm like, oh yeah, what was I asked? What was I saying? All the time. It's typical for me.
Well, I think just to expand, I think a lot of people who are on a career trajectory with the primary focus of pleasing expectations, like either speaking through your own experience or just like, what's your advice for if they're like, I want to start to do more things that, my heart tells me to do than society, just if you want to speak to your own experience, or what's your advice for them?
Yeah. I'd say do what makes you feel comfortable, right? Always do that. Because I feel like I always put myself in a position that I guess here's what I think. There are moments when I make a decision and I can feel in the pit of my decision that it's wrong. And the moment I choose the other path, it's released from me almost, right? It's like a feeling of release. And before I even make a decision now, I try to imagine a life with that decision, with one decision, and then live life through another. And whatever decision brings me peace, that I can look back at myself in 10 years and be like, okay, you're okay with that. Even if it's hard to do, I try to make it, right? And that's helped me in a lot of ways, especially ones where I feel like I'm getting pressured to do something. I think just trying to talk and just be open with your parents as much as possible, which obviously I am not doing fully because they don't know the full extent, but I try to tell them every once in a while, I'm doing this thing and I'm doing that. I let them know even subtly, I'm not going to just shove it in their face and be like, oh yeah, I'm doing whatever you guys want me to do, right? I'm trying to be as gentle with that as possible and ease it in almost. But I'm still pursuing it actively. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's great advice.
I don't know if that fully answers your question. I also sometimes don't answer the question, but I answer a lot of questions that were not asked. So there you go. That's what you get with me.
No, you nailed it. That was awesome.
Okay, cool. Oops, I keep knocking the table.
We had talked before we started how this Wednesday, depending on when people are listening to this episode, March 27th is Muslim Women's Day. Yeah. Within Women's History Month.
Yeah.
What does this day mean for you? Or what does that day mean for you?
It's pretty cool. I mean, to just I guess part of me loves it, and I think it's really cool, and part of me is like, oh man, I wish we didn't even need a day, right? But I'm glad that there is a day where people are are sharing and posting content and ideas and getting people's names out there and information out there and just knowledge out there. And there's like a specific reason, like, oh, here it is. Everybody was, look, there's a push for it. It trends with hashtags and stuff like that. Positive look at Muslims and Muslim women specifically, right? Because Muslim women tend to carry a lot of the brunt of Islamophobia in America because we're so openly like Muslim. I used to wear hijab, and I mean, every time I went outside, I was the face of Islam, and that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to be perfect all the time, and you shouldn't have to be. So it's nice to get a little bit of a, hey, good job. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's been your relationship with Islam? How has it evolved, especially as a Muslim American woman throughout your life? Any reflections you want to share?
Yeah, I think I've grown closer to it, and it's a stronger bond. And now I really try to not just do the rules. Like, I do the rules, but like I try to also, what's more important to me now, what I value more, is like the character traits of being Muslim, like not judging people, being kind, always giving. Those aspects I try to incorporate in my life without ever having to say it, because I'm Muslim. I just want to be those things. And as I get more and more, like as I get closer to my faith, those are the things that I focus on the most. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think I try to, right now, especially with, hopefully my career in TV or film or anything like that, I want to be able to open doors for Muslims in one way or another. Yeah. Where I'm at in my head.
You mentioned the hijab. Hijab is like such a fascination point for both Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's everyone's obsession. It's like, why are you so fixated on this? I don't understand. It's like somebody's entire religiosity is based on this. What? Wow. Oh my goodness. Are men not religious because they don't wear it? Like, I don't get it. I don't know.
What do you wish people would like let go or understand, or what is any sort of information you'd like to give context to for around this kind of like fixation?
For who? For Muslims or non-Muslims? Because I feel like they're two very different. I have two different thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts, but two very distinct kind of viewpoints, I guess. Yeah.
It's up to you. Whichever you feel more called to share, both, one, either or, your call.
All right. So Muslims out there, right? I'd say stop fixating on it. There's a lot more important things out there than what a woman wears. I think your obsession with it is just a distraction and pointless and very aggressive for absolutely no reason. I mean, there are really big issues that people are like super divided on for some reason, but everyone seems to be fixated on one. And the way, and like the thing that gets me the most, it makes me laugh a lot, because it's like she wears hijab, but maybe it's like slightly off, and like they shame her for it. And I'm like, what is going on? What is that? And then they treat, like, I don't know. There's just a lot there. It's just a lot to unpack. But I think there's more important things out there. For non-Muslims, I would say that don't take a woman's ability to choose away from her if she chooses to wear it. She's not oppressed. She doesn't need to be treated differently. Do not treat somebody differently because it's something they wear, because you don't want somebody to do the same for you, whether you're a man or woman. Like don't do that either. It's so annoying. Don't ask weird questions. You got a question, Google it. Don't ask her if she wears it in the shower. She does not. Like, just think about it for like a second, maybe. I don't know. So stuff like that. But don't be afraid of her either, because I'm sure she's more open to it than not. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'd say don't think she's oppressed is my biggest takeaway, because it's her choice. For a lot of women, there's some women in some places that don't get that choice. There are a lot of women in a lot of places that don't get a lot of other choices, right? I mean, women are oppressed all over the world for different reasons in different ways. Don't just zone in on that. I don't know. Don't assume, I guess. Yeah, those are my two little rants on that. Yeah.
The one, do you wear that in the shower? That one used to just when I first started hearing that repeated question, I didn't get it.
I was really I was surprised by it. I'm like, oh wow, okay. Gosh, what do you think the hair is like underneath? Like, how gross is the hair? It gets me. It's really funny stuff, and I don't want to it's. I'd rather somebody ask at least than just I don't know, have these. I'm always really open to questions for the most part, right? I don't usually mind if somebody asks me a question, as long as it's not like, oh, do you support the terrorists overseas? I'm like, are you asking me something like that? Those get me. I'm like, what? Other than that, I have knowledge that you don't. I'm always willing to share it. That's not everybody, but that's just me. I'm okay with it at this point. But gosh, do you wear it in the shower? There's a couple other really, really interesting ones that I've heard over the years from other people. I wish I could remember some because they get me good. Oh, one of them, my friend, totally side, but it makes me laugh. What was it? Do you wear red to attract men? Do you wear red hijab to attract? Is that a symbol that you're ready to get married or something something like that? And I was like, no, they did not ask you that. No way. Oh, what a great question. Awesome. I love that. But so much. It's like very Canterbury Tales of them. So funny to me. See, that's the stuff that makes me laugh. That I'm not even upset. It's just I just find it funny. I'm just oh well, here's something I can put into something else later. Yeah.
What if you don't mind me asking? Did people give you any grief or anything when you stopped wearing hijab?
Actually, no, which was really surprising to me. Right? Because you've seen what people have done when people have taken it off, right? The reaction, right? I didn't get anything. I think people didn't even really know for a while if I was wearing it or not, because I wear a hat a lot of the time, and I used to wear it because when I started performing more, it was easier to wear on stage because I move a lot. I am somebody when I'm on stage and playing, I do not stop moving. I'm very active. And so fixing a hijab in that was really hard. So I'd wear a hat. And honestly, my hair was more covered with the hat. I would just tuck this in and I would be good to go. When I wore hijab, it was always falling off. But as it went on, I did do that typical Muslim hijabi thing where it slowly got pulled back until it wasn't on anymore, which everyone knows it's coming, right? It started off as soon as I kind of like this. I still wear a hat a lot of times on stage just because it makes me feel comfortable performing. I'm so used to it. Yeah, when I took it off, people were just like, hey, Summer, your hair's showing a lot in that one in particular. I think it was just only from my sibling. And then I told her, she goes, oh, okay. She didn't know. My mom was like, whatever you want to do, which I was surprised. I thought it would, I told my mom before I did it. And I thought she would be so upset. I just had these assumptions in my head. Once again, don't assume. I always assume wrong. If I'm assuming something, there's a 99% chance it's wrong. Because I have no, I guess, instinct sometimes. Some people just know things, and I'm just like, oh, maybe I do. But yeah, she's like, do what you want, whatever you feel comfortable, as long as you're happy and you're still I care about what you do as a it's who you are as a Muslim, as opposed to something like hijab. And I was like, oh wow, Mom, thanks, you're great, cool. Yeah, nothing. Nobody said anything to me. Yeah. But I know that's not always the case. I was just really surprised it was for me. I don't know. I guess people always thought me a little different. I think that's my cat.
Hey, what's up, cat? What's your cat's name?
His name is Boo.
Oh, nice.
Boo Radley, because I didn't name him. Somebody else did. I picked him up from the shelter. It's actually supposed to go to one of my friends, but he ended up loving me so much that I just kept him. But Boo Radley is the character from To Kill a Mockingbird that was really, really, shy. A little bit more than shy, but that's what I'm going to say right now. And he would always hide. And he would always hide whenever my friend would walk by him on the street. And he would just run. And then when the shelter picked him up, we went over there and grabbed him right away as soon as we could. So yeah, now he's still shy and skittish and scared, but happy. So I'm thankful for that.
That's wonderful.
And well said.
Well, thanks for answering all. I know I asked you a bunch of personal questions and put you in the spot. So thanks for sharing your journey and reflection with us.
Yeah, of course. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
My pleasure. I know, what year would that be? Like 2014 and 15. I saw you volunteering a lot for the Bernie campaign.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. 2016 too, a little bit. Yeah.
So, what was that experience like? And are you going to be volunteering as much for his presidential bid this year?
Oh, I'm going to volunteer way more than I used to. I am already trying to figure out how I can start volunteering. I have to look into it a little bit more because so here's my thing. I want to do a lot more this time, but I am so busy. It's going to be harder for me, but I'm going to do my darndest to do it. I'm excited for him to run again. I was waiting on it. Just like, oh, come on. Announce. Please run for all of us. Just run. Especially because I saw the lineup already for some of the Democratic candidates. I was like, oh no, come on, run. And yeah, and Vito just announced it, and I'm like, no, I haven't. I'm Bernie. I'm not into that. I'm so very diehard Bernie. Yeah.
What is it about Bernie that you resonate with?
I think that he has the stances he has on most things. I think are the most inclusive. He doesn't budge really. The same things he's been fighting for. Sadly, the same things he's been fighting for is what he's still fighting for. And he's willing to say it, I guess, and actually fight for it. And he, as best as he can, does what he says. I think he actually cares and acknowledges other people. It's not about money for him. It's not a job for him. It's an opportunity he has to do for others, I think, for him. The importance of his message is what's important to him, not the fact that he gets president, which is what I like in a leader. I don't want somebody who wants to be president for the sake of being president. I want somebody, because it's what you're supposed to do. It's where you're at, right? I don't want to lead like that. I want a person who leads because they have to. And that's what I see in him more than any of the other candidates as of right now. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be it's going to be an interesting 2020. Who's going to get the Democratic bid? It's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to watch this thing play out. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's so different than it was in 2016. I mean, just everything is different at this point. I'm curious to how it's going to play out. I'm really, really curious to see over the next couple of years.
Agreed.
Somebody's got to beat Trump. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to.
So you might have heard at the beginning that I shared that this is my year of grace.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And so, part of exploring what that is talking about it with my guests. And so for you, what is grace?
I don't even know really. I have a couple of definitions, things that pop to mind. Grace as in like being graceful comes to mind. Grace as in something pleasant you're bestowing on yourself or somebody else in a way. Yeah, I don't know. What is it? I feel like I should know. Come on, Summer.
Well, it's interesting. This is, I've had year of expression, year of courage, and year of balance. And those were more or less easy for myself and other people to answer. But with this one, it's been the most like, and I like what you just brought up. Like, what would be the difference between grace and graceful? Because I feel like there is a difference in the way they're used.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because graceful just feels like it's in movement. Grace is giving, right? In some way, right? There's like an element of kindness to it. Graceful doesn't feel like there has to be any kindness other than just softness to it, right? That's kind of where I am. Like one is more physical than the other.
I'm thinking of when people use graceful outside the context of movement. And I think when people like, I don't know, like if somebody jumps up and takes the credit for something you did and you're like, you handle it really well. I've heard people say like, you did that very gracefully.
Oh, yeah. Gracefully though. I don't think graceful. I see that now it's like just in that way. Oh, that's cool. Wow. Yeah. You just blew my mind. It's not hard to blow my mind, I guess, or maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it'll blow other people's mind. Oh, cool. Yeah, you've handled that gracefully. Oh, thank you. Like, yeah.
Can you think of another time where someone might say that?
You handled it gracefully?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I know with the Gayle King, I think is her name, and the R. Kelly interview, I know a lot of people are saying that she handled it gracefully. I feel like it gets used with women a lot. Like handling things gracefully. Like, I don't know, men would be like, yo, you handled that well, you handled yourself well. But I can't really, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Me specifically, somebody saying I handled something gracefully, I don't think I've ever heard. I don't know if I've ever handled anything gracefully. I probably said the wrong thing at the wrong time, trying my best. But that's usually it. Yeah.
You're right. I mean, that's interesting to explore. I wonder if it's more of a like a gender term, like if people say that to women versus like a guy, they're like, "Oh, you were a good leader," versus women are like, "That's very graceful."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, there it is. Boom.
That's interesting. I think that there's an element of like dignity, you know, that like you maintained yours and the other person's dignity. I think when people say graceful, that you like stayed at your level, you know, you didn't like stoop to somebody's, you remained at the standard that you set. I think that sometimes when people say that was very handled with grace.
Handled with grace. Yeah. Yeah.
This is what I find happens on this particular theme, that it's like little nuances that we add rather than, you know, with last year was my year of courage. And one of my listeners was like, hey, by the like 53rd week of 2018, I feel like people are more or less saying the same thing. But with this one, it's just like totally different each week. So I appreciate you adding to the conversation.
That's really cool because like the word can mean so many different things to so many different people. And it's like, here's Webster's definition of it. And now here's the world of definitions for it. Like each person has their own unique experience that defines the word, right? Yeah, that's super cool. Especially a word like grace that we all know, but do we know? Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. I love that.
Well, I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time and, you know, all of that.
Yeah. No, of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is the first, like, I've never done a podcast before, so this is a lot of fun. I'm excited to hear it. And thank you so much for thinking of me and reaching out.
My absolute pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Where can folks connect with you to tell you how much they appreciate you and check out your hilarious awesomeness?
Oh, well, you can find me on my Instagram, Summer Adhal. That's my own Instagram page, and on there you can find some of the pages for the teams. I actually have a team based on cats that plays every week. That's so far my main thing. I have a Twitter that I don't use as much. Same name. Instagram is what I use the most. And if you're ever in Atlanta, come to the Village Theater one night and catch me in the show. I'll probably be there.
Can you spell your IG?
Yeah, SUMOSADHAL. I forgot how to spell my last name for a second. Took me a while to think of it. This is the quality.
So for folks who are on the go, weren't able to grab that, you can get all of the show notes, tomerl.com/summer, just as it sounds, tomerl.com/SUMMER, tomerl.com/summer. And we'll have all of Summer's links, all of that stuff in the show notes. So once again, this has been amazing. I appreciate it. You're super hilarious and awesome. You have a great story. You wouldn't have known this was your first episode. There's so many quotable moments I'm going to chop into little clips and share with people because it's amazing.
Oh, stop. Don't stop, but stop. Anyway, you make it easy. You make it very easy.
I appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah.
I do want to share a little behind the scenes moment with folks listening, because I was listening to a podcast and like there was sometimes these awkward pauses between, like the rhythm was just a little off on the podcast. And I was like, oh, I know why. Because sometimes there's a delay between the two people who are being interviewed. So forgive me if there's any moments where I interrupted Summer. It's not because I'm, being a stereotypical white guy. It's because there's a delay.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Oh, you don't even know how often that happens. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm done here. But life, right? Well, not for you at least. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
My life. Yeah.
Well, this is kind of like when you say goodbye and then you go into the parking lot and keep talking. So I guess this is our parking lot keep talking conversation.
Our circle. Yeah.
So you're in an industry that's kind of notorious for sexism and comedians trying to push the envelope and a lot of like my wife jokes and kind of these sexist tropes. So, how do you survive in this industry? How do you thrive and grow?
I'm lucky to be at a theater right now that works hard at being very inclusive, and there's a lot of really strong women in the theater that I have as role models, right? And we're women throughout all the cast, from like the top to the bottom, which is really cool. Outside of that, whenever it does happen, a moment like that it's hard. You're nervous about making a big deal out of it, right? Because that's what they tell you it is, even though it's not a big deal, but people make you feel that way. Because everything's supposed to be all laugh all the time. And have to explain to somebody why something isn't funny is kind of hard sometimes, especially when they're feeling like attacked almost. Because anytime something hurts you, you tell somebody they get. There's always a level of defensiveness you kind of tend to expect, which isn't. I'm not saying is right, but it's they do that and they try to make you feel like the person that's acting too much. Then there are other people who listen, and that's really cool, and I appreciate those people. And those are the ones that I actually tend to tell when something affects me. But it's hard. It's hard to do it. I'm glad that people in the world are changing a little bit now, but it's hard when it does happen. When it does happen, it is hard. Yeah. I don't know if that fully answers it, because I don't even really fully have an answer myself, because it's something that I think about all the time. Anytime something like racist or sexist or anything like that comes up, it's something that doesn't ever really leave me. It's something that I think about all the time. Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out where my head is on all these topics. Yeah,
Well,
that's like
it's a complex question, and it'd be like arrogant almost of me to expect you to be able to answer it like in a soundbite on the spot. So yeah, because it's so hard for me, because I have two conflicts. Like it's easy to be outside of it and talk about things, right? It's so easy when I see it happen somewhere else. I'm like, oh, but when it happens to me personally, something like that, you almost don't even want to believe it or think it, or there's like a lot of doubt that you want to put on it because it hurts. And it makes it harder, and it's other people make it harder, right, on you. But I just hope that in the future, and what continues to happen, because that's what I'm kind of seeing it go now, is that men in particular acknowledge it, try to fix it, and then try to stop others from doing it, right? Because women have always seen it, women have experienced it, right? But men need to now stop and go, hey, this is the problem. We need to fix it. And there needs to be a real shift in that. And I feel it's shifting right now, but, there just needs to be more, way more. Yeah. And looking out, because it shouldn't be on me to go and say something, right? It should be on like one of them to go, hey, that wasn't cool, right?
somebody should defend somebody else, you know? That's just what I'm thinking. Or acknowledge it. Instead of thinking, oh, that was funny. Want to know what you're looking at? No, wasn't it funny? Was it okay? Just because you're friends doesn't mean you have to pretend like it didn't happen. Yeah. But if something does happen that's like particularly bad, I'm like, oh, that's not cool. Don't do that. If it's particular, it has to be like a certain level for me to even be bold. Like, yeah. I'm sorry.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
What was the last one?
I said it's hard. Yeah.
Oh, it's hard.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your insights and giving us a look into your world. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And if I can say one more thing to everyone, I know you asked me the question earlier about what you would tell somebody who's just starting out. And I said something about listening, which is true. You should listen. But I had another thought too. It goes along with something I said earlier. Man, my brain was working. Trust yourself. That is the most important thing. Believe in yourself. Give yourself the space to fail and to do better, right? Because you can't be perfect. Give yourself the space to not be perfect, right? And then trust yourself no matter what, right? Like, trust in your imperfections, because that's where the good stuff is. Yeah.
Woo! I love that.
Yeah.
Our closing ritual here is to share an invitation for the folks listening. So what would you like to invite them to be, to do, to think about, to consider? You know, what action would you like them to take? What's your invitation?
My invitation to them is to do the thing that they've been scared to do, but they kind of really want to do. Just try it. Do it. And yeah, I think that's the biggest one. Just go out there and do it.
I love that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, thank you. It's a blast.
And folks out there, be sure to follow Summer and let her know how much you appreciate all of the wisdom and joy and storytelling she shared today, because it was awesome. So
yeah. Cool.
And to all those listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you.
One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.